Hello, Tennessee Voices viewers and listeners. This is David Plazas, the Opinion and Engagement Director for the USA Today Network Tennessee and the Tennessean. This is a special election edition of the Tennessee Voices podcast. The May 3rd local primary in Davidson County is coming up, and we've offered candidates throughout the ballot to come on, and some have, and I've reached out to others as well. And I'm so glad to have Lynne Ingram with us here today. She is a candidate for Circuit Court Judge in Division 8. Ms. Ingram, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you. Thank you for having me here.
It's such a pleasure to have you there. And for people who are not familiar with you, tell us a little bit about your background and why you're seeking to run for judge.
Sure. I selected the 8th Circuit Court bench to restore integrity to it. I've been practicing for over 18 years. 14 of those have been in public service and nonprofit. I've been on both sides of the aisle in civil and criminal cases. I was a federal prosecutor here in Nashville for almost a decade. I've litigated over 40 jury trials. I come from a family of public servants. And so I was introduced to the courtroom when I was in high school by my mom, who's been working as an attorney for the Department of Social Services for over 30 years in South Carolina. And ever since then, I've known I wanted to be on the bench. There are 29 judicial positions that will be on the May 3rd ballot. And as I mentioned, I specifically chose this one because I believe our community deserves better.
And you are running it against incumbent right now, and tell us a little bit about what you talked about your background, what distinguishes you. I know you had mentioned at a recent event to Google it, and obviously I'm very respectful to judicial candidates having to be very ethical and careful about what they say, but help us understand what you would bring to the bench.
Absolutely. So I've taught trial advocacy at Vanderbilt Law School for several years since 2014. And much like there, I think one of the things that I would bring to the bench is a level of respect. Everyone who walks through the courtroom would be treated the same, regardless of what role or position you are in. And then knowledge of the rules and an understanding of the law. And as an adjunct professor, I am up on the law and the rules and constantly challenged by the students, which I love. And our case law is ever changing. So I think it's important for us to have a knowledgeable and a courteous, respectful person. And I would bring all of that to the bench. And what speaks mostly to me and this specific bench, in addition to all of those things, is that I'm trusted. I am trusted by my colleagues. The Nashville Bar Association poll had over 500 attorneys who practice routinely in these courts. Over 50% of those attorneys stated that they do not recommend the incumbent to be on the bench. And I think that is so telling and makes me know I'm doing the right thing.
Thank you for that. And in the answer to your questionnaire, which we'll be linking, which we've linked out into the article, you talked very passionately about your own background and also your own experience at the hands of abuse. And I know this is a difficult topic, but it would be good to get to know you a little bit better from that standpoint, to share. And I know there are a lot of people who may empathize with your experience.
Absolutely. Thank you. And yes, that was something I had to consider whether I was willing to go there. And I am. I think it is important for people to know what type of person and personality and background you have coming onto the bench. I am a survivor of domestic violence. I have spent a year as the lead family law attorney at Legal Aid Society, helping domestic violence victims who couldn't afford an attorney. So professionally and personally, I do feel very strongly about that. I know that not everyone who says they're a victim are in fact victims. So, my role on the bench would be having that background, but also understanding that I would assess the credibility of each and every person, just like I would anyone else. But I do have that background, and it does make me a stronger person. I am single parenting 3 children. And I absolutely love it. They're 9, 7, and 2 years old. They are very involved in this process and excited about the election. But that's another thing that I would be bringing with me to the bench. And I think that would help me in many regards.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And you have your education from Western Michigan University, Cooley Law School, Lansing, Michigan. You also went to the University of South Carolina, Spartanburg, South Carolina. So you have some experience across other parts of the country as well, besides Nashville. How did those experiences early on help shape you today?
I would say the one that affected me the most being outside of Nashville, I moved here in February of 2009, would be from Phoenix. I practiced there for 6.5 years, and I was in public service several of those years there, including the U.S. Attorney's Office. It shaped me going to different locations by meeting and connecting with individuals that, aren't necessarily from the South, and learning different cultures and learning different personalities and how to interact with just about all walks of life. And so I think that would be something that I cherish from those different places, including the wonderful friends, lifelong friends that I've made along the way.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I know that oftentimes I like to ask judges, judicial candidates, when they're running, how they really focus on and address difficult decision-making and dealing with adversity. Could you share with us how you might bring that wisdom to the court if you're elected?
Sure. I've studied judges since I became an attorney, knowing that that's where I wanted to be. And seeing how it is difficult, the universal response to the most difficult part of being a judge that I've been told is sentencing someone. And so I wouldn't necessarily be doing that in Eighth Circuit Court unless there was a conflict criminal case. But I think seeing people, Lady Justice, she's my logo. She's the epitome of what I believe you should bring to the bench. And justice is blind, and justice is swift, and justice is fair and balanced. And all that to say, the adversity and the challenges, having been a litigant in court, having been a witness in court, I know personally what it feels like when you're not treated with the respect and kindness and understanding, or I've seen it done to other people. And that shouldn't be allowed. And I wouldn't permit that type of behavior in my courtroom. Certainly giving attorneys an opportunity to give their sides and try and win their case for their clients. But it would be a place where people know they will come in, justice will be served, and they will be treated fairly.
Well, thank you very much for sharing that. I am so grateful to Lynne Ingram, who's running for Circuit Court Judge in the Eighth Circuit Division. Before I let you go, I always like to ask guests if they would leave our audience with some words of wisdom to help us get through this time.
Sure. My words of wisdom would be that we're still moving forward and recovering from this global pandemic, and our court system has found unique ways, and some are doing a standout job of allowing our system to keep moving forward even in these times. And I am encouraged and excited about how we will continue to modify the ways that we hear court cases, no matter what's going on in our society. And I think that's going to help us with our justice system as well.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Ingram. Best of success to you, and you stay well and healthy.
Thank you so much, David.